Hey, Tara Strong here, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 167 of the Cinema Geeks. I am one of your Cinema Geeks, OptimusSolo. Joining me today is HardCandiMandi.
I'm always here. Hey.
You're always here, except
Almost.
for those times when you're not.
When I get drunk or whatever, sick, something.
We'll say, yeah, drunk, sick. I think that happened one of each. Mr. FridleyCent, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, throwing off the order. And MovieRevolt Dan, hi.
Hey, yeah. Don't know.
Yeah.
Throw me off, man. Come on.
We've only done the same thing for how many episodes? It's a cruel and unusual punishment for me to go in any other order, I know.
It's only because you don't have a script in front of you right now.
That's true. Going off the cuff here. And a special guest joining us back, returning from last week's episode to finish off this madness, is DJ Valentine.
So Iron Man rebounds, right? Feeds Cap on the break, over to Spider-Man, then to Thor, back to Shellhead, boom! 2 points.
Excellent. So like he's alluding to, we are getting back into our March Madness bracket. Last week we decided to kind of get in the spirit of things. So if you're looking for a podcast to kind of scratch that itch, if you're waiting for a Cinderella story or trying to hear some more about bracket busters and you can't get enough of it on the TV with the basketball, then you can turn your attention to us because we're doing those same types of things, but with all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's right, we're pitting all of the Marvel movies against each other because that is cruel. And as we saw last week, sometimes also, I don't know, cannibalistic when we were pitting Captain America against Captain America, and then more Captain America on top of that. I don't know what the situation is, but
It's the Belko experiment, comic book style.
yeah, basically. So last week we went through half of the bracket. So we covered the 8 seeds on that side as well as one playing game. So I guess 9 films total. This week we're going to go to the other side and then cap it off, no pun intended, with a grand finale. Dan, are you excited to see what matchups we have on this side of the bracket?
Of course. Hopefully, I mean, last time I really it was like picking my favorite kid. So it's going to be challenging.
Yeah, there was definitely some interesting ways that the seeding worked out. And for those of you that didn't tune in last week, I suggest go ahead and go back and listen to that one before you listen to this one. But if you're wondering how the seeding works, it was very simple. We just took Rotten Tomatoes scores and Metacritic scores, and we averaged those 2 scores together, and then that came up with a 1 through 16 or 1 through 18 seeding. If there was a tie, then we went with whoever had the highest Rotten Tomatoes score because that just seemed like the easiest thing to do. So that's kind of how that all worked out. Definitely led to some interesting matchups in that first half. We'll have to see what it does here in this second half. But before we can get officially into the second half, we have one more play-in game to go through. So these 2 movies are fighting for the 15th seed. Any guess, Matt, as to what at least one of these 2 movies would be that's fighting for that last seed?
This is like the second lowest movie.
It'd be the 3rd and the 4th lowest.
Oh man, can I just say Iron Man 2 again? Because F that one.
You are correct. One of them is, in fact, Iron Man 2. So Iron Man 2 will be in the play-in game, and it will be facing off against the only one of this franchise, I believe, that we haven't talked about, which would be Thor, the original Thor. So Iron Man 2 versus Thor with I don't think that one had any subtitle. It was just Thor. So
Yeah.
It's weird because
Kenneth Branagh's Thor.
some of the characters get just a number. Like Iron Man and Guardians, they just get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or whatever. But all the other ones get the subtitle, like the Dark World or Ragnarok or the First Avenger. I don't know who decides that, but maybe a question somebody can answer for me down the road here. Amanda, what's your thoughts? Iron Man 2 and Thor 1.
Are you asking me this?
That
Thor?
is a question, yes.
Thor. Thor?
So your answer is Thor?
Shirt off, Chris Hemsworth. Thor.
Okay. So that's a very definite answer for Thor?
Yes, I mean, it was everything we wanted. He is so perfect as Thor, and this was our first time getting to see him in this amazing character that he was pretty much born for. So Thor.
Okay, so we have a question and a statement coming out of Amanda, but both of them were Thor, so I guess that's where her vote is going. Dan, what do you think about Iron Man 2 and the original Thor?
Man, that's kind of tough because like they're both flawed for different reasons. I think, but I think I'm leaning towards. I recently watched Iron Man 2 for the first time in a long time, and I thought actually it was better than I remembered. There are still like the middle section does really hold it down, and there are some really questionable moments in it, but I think ultimately I still like that, and there's some really great action moments. But I think I'm gonna go with Thor because I feel like it's more complete. It's a better depiction of Thor. It did like make Chris Hemsworth into a major star, and Loki. I do think though, like Thor would be even a better movie because there's a lot of great deleted scenes in that add a lot to his character. There's like this great scene of him going back to the bar with the cup he broke when he was just joking around in order to fix it. There's a really great conversation between Loki and Thor at the beginning before he like goes into the throne room, and there are just some really great character moments that they didn't include. But I thought considering what Thor has to do, you have to combine the worlds of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and make it all work. With that, there were some problems, but I thought overall, when it just came to the characters, it got it right more. So I'll go with Thor.
Yeah, another interesting thing was Thor was kind of it seemed like one of those first ones where they were really kind of going into that fish out of water scenario, which obviously they've had practice at and maybe gotten better at a few things. But yeah, I think both films definitely have their flaws, but both of them have their positives too. Going into the stats, Thor and Iron Man 2 have the exact same Metacritic score. Thor has a 4-point higher Rotten Tomatoes score, so it's a slight higher seed. Matt, are you going to continue the Thor love? Based on what you said earlier on, I guess that would be the way you're going.
I mean, this is one of the fairest matches we've had. Like, a lot of them have been very lopsided, I feel, but this one is two lower tier movies. That said, Iron Man 2 has been my least favorite Marvel movie since I walked out of the theater, and I don't think there's anything anyone could say to change that. So I have to go with
walked out of the theater in that?
No, I mean, yeah, after the credits.
Oh.
Like, I don't live in the theater. I know that's where you see me at most, but like...
Nice.
I thought you left in the middle. I'm like, was it that bad? I don't remember who the villain was, but I don't remember it being so bad that I would
Exactly.
I would rather take a $9 nap than leave.
The villain in that movie was capitalism.
Technically, yes. Technically, it was capitalism. Justin Hammer in I Want My Bird, Whiplash. Yeah.
Oh! Okay, with the Russian guy with the electric whip. Gotcha.
Mickey Rourke. Yeah.
Mickey Rourke.
Yes.
The Russian guy with. Let's not go into different countries and what we feel about their babies and stuff like that already. DJ, there's been no love for Iron Man 2. Is that the proper way that this is going?
I mean, I can understand it. I mean, I am kind of a sucker for Iron Man in general, and the fact that the last great action scene in that movie was storyboarded by Jendy Tartakovsky, who's famous for Samurai Jack, and I love that scene so much, though it's only about 5 minutes of the movie. It's hard to defend Iron Man 2 because they had the Demon in the Bottle storyline and kind of rushed through it really, really fast, which is Iron Man being, a drunkard. I never really liked Thor. I like everybody cast in it. Chris Hemsworth is perfect as Thor. Anthony Hopkins is perfect as Odin. Tom Hiddleston's perfect as Loki. It's just that something about that movie, it was too cutesy for me. Yeah. And I'm not even going to get into how that romance does not work
I don't
whatsoever.
think that happens. That does.
Yeah, that was all. I mean, I think finally Taika Waititi finally kind of nailed the proper. It took the cutesy from the first Thor and kind of the gravitas of the second Thor, kind of melded it. So that's why I prefer Ragnarok. But if somebody's gonna say Thor's better than Iron Man 2, I can't say you're wrong. I can't really fight you, other than the fact that I really like it was the first time we got to see War Machine, and I'm a huge fan of War Machine. So yeah.
They should do a feature on DVDs or Blu-rays that's the opposite of deleted scenes. You can watch a film and delete your scenes. You can take the scenes out of the movie. Instead of seeing what they left out, be like, I want to watch this without this.
That's like those books where you get down to the bottom of the page and it's for, you make a decision on how this... Yeah. And then you got to read around.
I did that with Batman v Superman.
Yeah, we
just not watching it.
Doing the commentary for Batman v Superman, and I think my co-host, Justin Polizzi, was like, they don't need more scenes. They need less scenes.
Like, what happens if Thor never meets this girl? All right.
Oh God, it's such a better movie. If it was mostly on Asgard, the movie would be way, way better.
Right. And obviously the first time we get to see Loki, which is, I guess, my highlight for the original Thor. So that's where I would vote as well. So Thor is going to win this play-in game and get the privilege, and maybe thankfully so, because otherwise it would have been kind of weird, because Thor will be going against the number 2 seed in the entire bracket, according to the combined score, which belongs to Iron Man.
What?
Iron Man would come out as the number 2 seed with a combined score of 87, just 6 points lower than Black Panther. So we have Iron Man against Thor. So Thor already took out one Iron Man. Can it take out another one, Dan?
No, it cannot. Sorry. Let's be honest here for a second. Iron Man, the first Iron Man is probably up there with the best origin films ever. Yes, the ending's a little bit weak, but it does, I think, without this movie, we're not having this conversation right now. So I think that if it's not successful, if it's not good, Tony Stark, but Robert Downey Jr. just came and revitalized his career. And I'll save more for later because I don't know what it's going against, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going with Iron Man.
Amanda?
As much as I like the Hemsworths, I'm gonna have to go with Iron Man here.
Luke wasn't in that, by the way.
Huh?
I thought you were saying the Hemsworths with an S.
I did, but not including them as a group.
Okay.
Just giving them a title instead of just calling them like Pecs or something. I did enjoy Iron Man quite a bit. I think that it's got heart in it also. I mean, there's like people sacrificing themselves, and the stakes are pretty high still. I mean, the guy is like, going through some crazy stuff medically, and he's still got to get out of a terrorist situation and get back, and instead of, having PTSD, he does something about the situation. So there's a lot that you can look up to in this film, so I like it.
All right. Matt, are we getting the seeding right here? Iron Man at the 2 and Thor as the 15th seed, and then obviously a lopsided matchup?
Oh, like, Iron Man at 2 seems a little high. But at the same time, like, it started this whole thing. Like, I know it didn't come out before the Edward Norton Hulk, but it made this all possible. Like, if not for that movie, that we wouldn't have the MCU that we have. And so it deserves something for that, if nothing else. But it works as a movie. It's great. Like, it might be the best origin. Nah, it's not. Ant-Man's better than this one. Like, I can't wait until this one faces Ant-Man, because that's not gonna... But, it's great. It's better than Thor.
All right. DJ, unanimous?
Yeah, Iron Man. I mean, you can put Tony Stark up there with Hugh Jackman and probably Heath Ledger as like one of the greatest castings of a character. So much so they retconned how he acts in the comic books to fit how Robert Downey Jr. acts in real life. Because before Iron Man came out, Tony Stark was kind of this traditional playboy, but all those little Robert Downey Jr. quirks they kind of now put in the comic books now before. So yeah, Iron Man it's a Mount Rushmore for this universe.
I remember when Iron Man first came out that I actually had no idea anything about the character. Like, because I wasn't a comic book reader and I didn't watch any of the Marvel cartoons or anything like that. And like, when there was like, oh, there's a movie like Iron Man, I was like, about the song? Like, what's what's going on here? And I actually
Black
did not.
Sabbath has got a comic.
And it's actually the only, I think, only 2 of the MCU films I did not see in theater. So
wow.
Yeah, I wasn't on the train at that point, so it took me a second to get there. But then when watching it on DVD or Blu-ray, whatever it was, the first time, obviously opened my eyes to what this whole thing was going to be and this whole adventure, and I've been on board ever since. So thanks to Iron Man, even though I didn't see it in the theater. So let's bump down to the 4th quadrant here and get a sneak peek at who is the number 3 seed in this whole bracket, and they will be facing the number 14 seed. So first off, the 14 seed, I guess the one that just missed out on having to do a play-in to get in here, and that would be Avengers Age of Ultron.
Ooh, wow, that's low.
Number 14 seed with a combined score of 71, 75 Rotten Tomatoes, 66 Metacritic, going up against the number 3 seed, which ends up being Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. 91 Rotten Tomatoes, 76 Metacritic for a combined score of 84. So quite a bit, 13 points higher than Avengers Age of Ultron. Matt, we'll start with you. Guardians Volume 1, Age of Ultron.
Man, like, this is a great, like, look at these two big, diverse casts do movies, and one of them, is very obviously better. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy is amazing. It's like a sillier Star Wars and with superpowers, and I love it. And like, the Avengers 2 is oddly weak for an Avengers movie. Thankfully, we got that third Avengers movie called Civil War that lifted it up. But like, after that first one, it was a big drop off into that second one.
Dan, does Guardians get some bonus points for being a film that nobody had any idea what was going on going into it? Nobody knew for sure if it was going to work or not work. It seemed like something a little bit out of the box for what Marvel was doing, and then it came and it swept the box office like crazy that year. Does it gain some for that kind of surprise factor, or is it just a better movie overall?
Well, I wouldn't say no one thought it would work. I think there are some people who thought it could work. I'm just going to throw that out there, but whatever.
Tooting horn.
I had faith in James Gunn, and I enjoyed the. It's not really like there's like. I won't even get into it, but in all honesty, it is doing something that is completely out there. And I know the running joke at the time was like DC couldn't get a Wonder Woman movie to work, but Marvel's having a movie with a talking tree and a raccoon, and somehow it's the biggest movie of the year. And I do think it opened up the doors to say, like, I think Marvel's unstoppable, because not only was it good, but it was hugely successful, surpassing like anyone's expectations. It was released in August, and it seemed like maybe they didn't have as much faith in it as some of the other. I don't think they thought it would catch on, but I think it revolutionized what people thought of what they could do with the Marvel movie. Talk about the soundtrack and the diverse cast, like Matt mentioned. And, I like Avengers Age of Ultron. I do think it's another one that gets better on rewatch. There are some problems with it, for sure. I think the biggest issue with Avengers Age of Ultron is the fact that it's following up Avengers, and it's a hard hill to climb a second time. And it also felt like, for whatever reason, like Whedon's heart wasn't in it. I don't know if he felt like he didn't get to tell the story he wanted, but it did feel a little more convoluted than the original Avengers. So I think it's a Guardians for sure. And I'm curious how far it could go, because I think it could go all the way, possibly. We'll see.
All right, so a couple of votes for Guardians. Amanda, we have yet to have any debate or any arguments. Are you going to keep that unison, that hunky-dory feeling going with Guardians winning this one?
Yeah, definitely. I think Guardians was a game changer for me. It opened up this new vibe in the MCU, and I super dig it, and it carried into the second installment too, and it set a precedent, and it had such, I don't know, I want to go back to the word vibes. Like, it had awesome vibes. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree with Dan too. I think there's so many Marvel movies that are different and kind of going towards different genres and doing different things with their films. So this was just the most obvious one that people were pointing to right away. That was kind of like they felt like it was out of left field or something, or out of this world, which I guess it is a little bit. But I think it works so well, and I think you get a lot of things that work that you might not think would work. Like Dan was talking about, you have a talking tree, you have a talking, well, I guess kind of a talking tree. You have a talking raccoon. You got Batista involved, and nobody really was, I think, aware of how effective he would be in that role, and the music and the humor and just everything, the color schemes, that film popped on the screen with all its different uses, something we've seen kind of repeated in both the second Guardians and then Thor Ragnarok in a way, but just the use of the visuals that they do in that film was amazing to me as well. So I think it's a clean sweep and an easy one for Guardians, and I agree, Dan, this is a number 3 seed that could last a little while in this tournament. But DJ, did we just become like the most boring podcast ever because there's no disagreement so far?
Well, I mean, if this was going, if Age of Ultron was going against a different movie, I think I would probably be the one defending it more, because I like this movie more than most. But because it's going against Guardians has like a special place in my heart. So it's like, damn, it went against the guard. It just drew the wrong card because if it was going against something else, I think I would be. There's a lot of stuff I really, really love in Age of Ultron, and people kind of forget. I mean, the Stark Tower party scene is still up there, one of my favorite scenes in all of a Marvel film. But I mean, Guardians, we'll probably have to go over this more, but there's certain things in Guardians where I find myself crying, I find myself cheering, I'm clapping, I'm laughing, I'm crying again. And it's a comic movie about a tree and a raccoon. It made Chris Pratt a megastar. Dave Bautista actually has worth other than power slamming people. It was, so yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is just, Age of Ultron just pulled the wrong card for me.
Yeah, definitely so. As a clean sweep and annihilation here in this first round of Avengers Age of Ultron goes down. As fate would have it, we just had Guardians Volume 1 versus Age of Ultron. Let's jump up to the number 7 and the number 10 seed matchup. Number 10 seed would be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 7 seed would be the first Avengers. So we had Guardians Volume 1 against Age of Ultron. Now we have Guardians number 2 against Avengers. Amanda, let's start with you. Guardians of the Galaxy, your number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was your number 1 film of last year. What do you think about this one?
Oh, this is so hard. I think with the Avengers, it was something we had been waiting for, this ultimate team-up movie. We waited so long for it, and it was so amazing, and just, I was blown away even in the trailers, and I think that it was giving us exactly what we wanted at the time and what we had been salivating for. But with as amazing as Guardians of the Galaxy was, we just got this installment that we had also been waiting for, and I feel it was pretty widely loved. I loved it, so I'm not really sure.
You need help from the panel? See what they think? Before you cast your vote?
Can I come back after hearing other people's arguments?
Absolutely. Matt, let's go to you first then. Avengers or Guardians Volume 2, which one's the better film in your opinion?
Oh, man. I don't think I can fairly rate this one because the Avengers is, like, unprecedented and, like, also really good. I'm just going to say Avengers, and I'll talk about it if it makes it on.
All right. Dan, what do you think? Is Guardians have any shot against the mega film that was Avengers, or is this an easy one for Avengers?
It's honestly an easy one for me, too. I like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I think it has one of the best, like, Marvel villains, honestly, with Ego and the way they were able to handle that. But Avengers is one of, like, the best movie experiences I've ever had in my life. Like that's one that just, like, I remember every moment. I remember every time, like, the crowd was just laughing to the point where I couldn't hear this, hear audible noises or where people were clapping so loud, and it was just like watching a sporting event, but it was a movie. So it's Avengers for me. It's gonna be tough to take it out moving forward.
DJ Amanda said that she needed to hear some thoughts from the other people before she gave her vote. It's 2 votes right now for Avengers. Can you sway her to Guardians, or should she make it 3?
I might be the wrong person for that because I didn't like Guardians Volume 2 when I first saw it in the theater, mainly because it was not what I really wanted. I watched it recently on Netflix a second time, and it kind of grew on me in terms of love, but it's like you're a kid fighting Mike Tyson here, man. Avengers it broke the world. Avengers, every film, whether it's the Mummy or DC, is trying to make an extended universe because of Avengers. So yeah, Guardians of Volume 2, it did grow on me, and the way they handled the ending of that movie with Rucker and stuff is very, very well done. But I think it's just too little. It's not as big as this. That was the first. So yeah, I'm going with Avengers.
The amazing thing about Avengers is it's very similar to kind of like I don't know, maybe in a way like The Force Awakens, because there's no way that Avengers should have been able to live up to the hype. Like it's that seemed like something that was literally an insurmountable like mountain to climb. Like you've had all these individual films, you have all these mega stars and these huge, larger than life characters, and we're finally building up to that, and then, like, we're just used to that. Not, if you're doing something like that, it's going to be so easy to have the bar so freaking high that there's no way it's going to quite meet fan expectations, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that it did was just like mind blowing. And I agree with Dan. There are moments in that theater where you're laughing so hard, or that you're just in awe, or whatever. I think they did a fairly smart thing with including Loki as a major portion of that film, kind of based on what they'd seen so far in the individual installments. So that worked well, and it also set the stage for all these other films that came after it. So it's hard to vote against Avengers, but maybe I don't need to vote, because Amanda could cast a vote that would make my vote meaningless. What do you think?
I think I'm going to say Avengers. It didn't leave me wanting anything, whereas in Guardians 2, I wanted more of them as a team, like that we got in the first part. So I'm going to say Avengers.
Yeah, one common complaint for Guardians 2 was the breakup and not having them together as much, whether you agree.
That's why I didn't like. That's why it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. The first time I saw it, I was like, no, why are you guys going? I want to see adventure with you guys together.
So Avengers gets revenge and takes out Guardians Volume 2 after Guardians 1 took out the second Avengers. So this is getting complicated on this side of the bracket. We had Captain America on the other side. I guess we got Guardians and Avengers on this side. But there's 2 Marvel films we have not spoke of yet. Dan, what are they?
I don't even remember.
There's been too many that we've talked about. They've been mentioned in passing.
Ant-Man and
another man.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Homecoming?
Yes, so we have Ant-Man, which would be the number 11 seed, and Spider-Man Homecoming, number 6 seed. So the Spider-Man versus the Ant-Man. Interesting that kind of worked out like that. Matt?
Before we really start, I just want to let Amanda know that Ant-Man was the one that had the Bucky Barnes after credits scene.
It did. Oh, see, he's trying to sway the vote. Hey.
Matt, how do you break this one down?
That's dirty pool. That's dirty pool.
So if I'm comparing the scene with Bucky versus the scene where it's like he's got that watch that has the thing on the wall at the just the after credit scenes.
At Civil War.
Is it? Like I thought.
When he's looking up at the ceiling, that's Civil War.
Oh dang! I can't remember my various.
Dirty pool.
I think one of my favorite comic book maxi series was the Irredeemable Ant-Man. I love what this character can do when written well, and the Ant-Man movie was written well, surprisingly, considering how many bad Ant-Man stories there have been in the comic books. Like he beats up his wife, but then he turns out he's a shape-changing monster.
Who beat up their wife?
Hank Pym, original Ant-Man.
Yes. Who's not
beat up his wife?
He was crazy.
Because he was a drunk and then also like a Skrull.
Right.
Depending.
That?
We're going down the wrong.
It's kind of a retcon of Hank Pym being a crazy person, but yeah, in the comic books, Hank Pym is not as nice a guy as he is in the movie.
So we're talking about the newer. What's the guy's name? What's the
Paul Rudd?
Paul. Yeah, but his character.
Scott Lang.
What?
Scott Lang.
Yes. Okay.
Maybe it's
not wife beating Ant-Man.
No. That's Hank Pym.
Funny, awkward Ant-Man.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's where Ant-Man needs to be. Like that's what Eric O'Grady was. He was awkward and funny. But like this Spider-Man. Here's the thing. I didn't want another Spider-Man, right? We've had multiple Spider-Man in the last decade, and honestly, I legitimately enjoyed both Amazing Spider-Mans. I didn't want a new Spider-Man, and I definitely didn't want just to reset the Spider-Man universe. So I was 100% against that Spider-Man Homecoming, but that movie was legitimately great. Like, I loved both of these movies, and I'm going to let someone else talk before I vote.
Oh, he's trying to pull a me.
Wow.
Dan, we'll go to you. Maybe you're more confident in your choices here. What do you think is better, Spider-Man or Ant-Man?
I'm gonna go Homecoming for one distinct reason. The villain in Homecoming is far superior to that of Ant-Man. And thinking about these two movies, and one of the best scenes in Homecoming ends up just being a car ride, and I think that says a lot because of just to be able to do that. It's like how it relates to like John Hughes films, and again Vulture, Keaton killing it, and also just having a character that is somewhat sympathetic or at least has motivations that make sense in a way. So they made the Vulture work much more than I ever thought they would. I didn't think Homecoming was going to be as good as it was. Like it honestly surprised me. I liked Ant-Man. I don't think I like it as much as most people. It does have some humor. I guess I wish it did more with like its concept, and it felt more like a heist film than I was hoping for. But yeah, so I do like it, but it's not, to me, Homecoming I enjoy more. It's more I enjoy the characters more. I feel like there's more exciting moments that had me at, like on the edge of my seat, where Ant-Man didn't necessarily have that to that level for me. So
I am 100% in agreement with Dan. I liked Ant-Man, but I do not love it nearly as much as I hear from a lot of other people, and I have yet to have a desire to rewatch it. So I've only seen it the one time. So maybe that's not fair. Maybe I should rewatch it and kind of get another take on it. But I enjoyed it, but it didn't wow me anywhere near some of these other Marvel films have. And Spider-Man Homecoming literally has the most jaw-dropping moment in all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think. I have not been that shocked at just one single moment in a film for a long time, as far as that scene at the door. So that kind of rocked me a little bit, and I think Tom Holland did more than I expected as Spider-Man. So I just like Spider-Man better as a character, so maybe that's biased, but I like the film better as well. Amanda, what do you think?
I'm going to say Ant-Man. I think I had more fun with Ant-Man than I did Spider-Man Homecoming. Believe it or not, I've never been a teenage boy, so it was a little bit hard for me to relate to some of the stuff, and I'm not sciencey smart. We're gonna say that. And it was a little hard for me to just kind of connect to that character as much as I like and love. I tried to put those words together, it didn't work. Spider-Man. I watched a lot of the cartoons in the 90s. I really enjoyed all those characters.
Michael Keaton.
And Michael Keaton terrifies me. He really terrifies me. I think because of Beetlejuice, I was scarred. But I don't know. I wasn't like crazed and wowed when I walked out of Spider-Man. So, what?
He's just throwing out people. Michael Douglas. Michael Keaton.
He's like staring at me.
Evangeline Lilly.
Matt, let's go after you, because now we have somewhat of a 2-on-1 here. We have 2 votes for Spider-Man, 1 vote for Ant-Man. I know you were saying something about Ant-Man earlier in the record.
Oh man, like I love Ant-Man, but like the conversation around the villains is probably exactly what I needed to be swayed to Spider-Man, because like I'll tell you what, I bought one action figure between these 2 movies, and you know who it was? It was the Vulture. Like that's the only one I got on my shelf between these 2 movies. Like besides just loving the aesthetic design of it, like that role was played so well. Like Spider-Man Homecoming was not a movie I wanted, but definitely a movie I enjoyed.
DJ, you remember last episode when I kept making you make vital decisions to...
Yes, I remember. I lost my black card. I'm now an Inuit because of that. I had to vote against Black Panther. Thanks, OptimusSolo.
Well, I tried to make it up by...
Snatch it out of my hand.
I tried to make it up by giving you no choices this week because...
It's okay. It's okay, good. It would have been an easy slam dunk for me if it was a tiebreaker, but yeah.
Well, slam dunk for Spider-Man?
Well, 1, Spider-Man's my favorite comic character of all time. 2, Tom Holland's my favorite Spider-Man of all time. 3, Michael Keaton made the Vulture work. I hate the Vulture as a character. He's just a bank robber, an old guy that's got young in the comic books. And Michael Keaton made him one of the most terrifying villains of all of comic books. So yeah, Spider-Man's easy. And I like Paul Rudd. I think my favorite Paul Rudd Ant-Man isn't in Ant-Man, it's in Civil War. But,
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's great. It's a fun movie that works. Spider-Man Homecoming was just like, I mean, they made me like Zendaya. I don't even know who that is, but she's awesome. She steals literally
like one song.
She's a singer. She's a tap dancer. I have no idea who she is, but she was great in that film.
And so was his friend, who I don't. The actor's name escapes me. But
Miles Morales, I forget his name too. But yeah, the casting is great. The kid from Beast of No Nation is in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and he's hilarious. Yeah. So yeah, Homecoming's great.
All right, so that sets the stage for the next round on this side of the bracket. Let's go back up to the top here. These seeds might not make sense, but this is what the internet told me when I was looking at these numbers. So we have the number 2 seed, Iron Man, against the number 7 seed, the Avengers. So,
what?
Iron Man against Avengers. Avengers beat Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Iron Man took out Thor, which had taken out Iron Man 2, if you're trying to keep track. Regardless, it's Iron Man versus Avengers. Amanda, where do you go?
I'm going to say Avengers. Just because awesomeness.
Fair enough. The woman of few words right now. Dan, is any words necessary, or is this a slam dunk as well in the second round?
Yeah, I'm going to go slam dunk. So.
Matt, 3 for 3, Avengers over Iron Man?
Yeah, I mean, Iron Man, the first Iron Man is a great movie, but it's still an origin story. And, though you could argue the Avengers is an origin story and yada, but, it's not. It's so good. We could talk about it when it gets to a real, challenging.
No respect for Iron Man. Going against Iron Man taking a slapping. Iron Man actually 2 points higher on Rotten Tomatoes than Avengers.
Oh my god!
10 points higher on Metacritic than the Avengers.
Haters.
So that's how that worked. But I will make that 3 for 3. Avengers beats Iron Man. DJ, did we get it right?
Yeah, Iron Man's second act kind of falls down a little bit, and we were just talking. I just said my favorite Ant-Man is in Civil War. My favorite Tony Stark of any Tony Stark is in Avengers Part 1. And Iron Man, he's not Iron Man Tony Stark until the kind of the end, and then he really just goes full bore Tony Stark Iron Man in Avengers Part 1. I mean, and that's just one character. I'm not talking about Chris Evans is Captain America. He made Captain America work. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. Agent Coulson, remember him? Yeah, stuff like that. It's just, it's great.
I forgot we didn't include any of the TV shows in this bracket. Anyway, so Avengers has punched its ticket to the Final Four. Let's see the other movie that will be joining it in the Final Four. That would be between the number 3 seed and the number 6 seed, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 versus Spider-Man: Homecoming. Matt, Guardians or Spider-Man?
Oh man, this just got a lot harder.
It's a good one right here.
Yeah, these are 2 solid movies. I really enjoyed both. And they both kind of have what I want in a movie. Oh man, I want to hear someone else talk about it. 'Cause I got
plead the fifth again.
The last time Spider-Man got involved, I got swayed by the talking, and I proved that. So I think someone else should do some. I'm on my swing. Someone push me.
And Amanda, Spider-Man is the one with the higher Rotten Tomatoes score. Guardians is the one with the higher Metacritic score. Who has the higher score in the Book of Amanda? It's like the Book of Eli.
The Book of Eli.
I will murder some people. Take my iPod, I dare you.
Book of Eli reference. Deep cut.
It's got Gary Oldman in it.
It does have Gary Oldman in it.
So, Spider-Man: Homecoming over Guardians?
Or Guardians over Spider-Man: Homecoming. That's the question.
I'm going to say Guardians, hands down. I had so much friggin' fun with it. I mean, the soundtrack is amazing. The color blew my mind. All these characters individually are outstanding. Together, they are bombastic, and I can't get enough. So I'm going to say Guardians, hands down.
Definitely sold the most merchandise, probably.
I mean, Baby Groot, bruh.
No, it wasn't Baby Groot yet. But...
Well, Groot, and then Baby Groot.
about 25 seconds it was Baby Groot.
Yeah, that's true. Dan, is this an easy one for you, or are you struggling like Matt to determine if Spider-Man: Homecoming or Guardians Volume 1 is the better film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I'm a little bit struggling because like I said, I didn't expect Homecoming to be as good as it did, and even I think Guardians also exceeded my expectations. But if I'm just thinking which one's better made altogether, I mean, you got to give the fact that, again, talking about villains, Ronan doesn't hold a candle to that of Vulture by any means. So that's a huge advantage. But like when you just look at just the filmmaking sense of like the use of soundtrack, the just the look of the film, like Guardians, just and how it redefined how you could do a cosmic universe and how it went in places no one thought many Marvel films would go. I mean, they utilized the Celestials. They went to nowhere, and just the look of it was amazing. So it's tough, and the cast was strong, and it had a great humor and a lot of jokes that still, I think, got into the consciousness of pop culture and still are there. Where Homecoming didn't, I think, have that same impact. It was enjoyable. It had moments that certainly lasted, but I don't think necessarily it was as a massive movement as Guardians ended up being. So because of that, just because of the force that Guardians has, and the fact that like not only was it a great movie, but the fact that like it was an amazing soundtrack on top of that not only were good songs, but actually had a purpose. And and again, I think. If I'm just beat for beat, like it's tough. The one thing that's holding me back is the fact that Homecoming has such a better villain. But besides that, I think Guardians is a better film, so I'll go Guardians.
To me, this is very similar to like the same type of argument you could get, I guess, when we were doing our Captain America: First Avenger versus Thor: Ragnarok. Like one of them might be a better complete film and maybe even a little bit more on the serious side, but the other one might just be the more entertaining, fun one. So it's like, do you want somebody made a cotton candy reference last time, or do you want the meal or that type of thing? So that's kind of it's hard though, because Spider-Man is still fun. It's not like it's all dire or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but Guardians to me is the one that just has more of those moments that you remember, more of the bombastic entertainment throughout. But Dan, you are completely 100% right that Spider-Man has the better villain, so I guess that's where the argument would be for Spider-Man. But I think just the massive hit and the impact of Guardians was phenomenal. I don't know if we would have had a Guardians Volume 2 had it not been for, I don't know what the plans were, maybe that was already sketched out, but it seems like that definitely solidified that we were going to get more from this group based on how successful they were. So I'm leaning towards Guardians as well. Matt, what are you thinking now that you've heard everybody else?
Like Dan really did it. Like I think that Spider-Man, like Spider-Man is the type of story like I want. Like for whatever reason in my comic book stories, I'm way more interested in like a teenage story. Like Teen Titans are what got me in. Like Runaways, like had me hooked.
Yeah.
Like I love like. That's it's an emotional time for anyone like at that age, and then you add superpowers and supervillains and all that to it, and it makes for an exciting story that I want to read and I want to see on the screen. But like I see like people are still to this day quoting like, oh, no, it won't, nothing goes over my head, I'm too fat, like. And you like it had Guardians had a bigger effect on the culture of America than Spider-Man did, and I think like inarguably I think it's probably a better movie or a more important movie if nothing else.
DJ, you said that Spider-Man was your favorite comic book character. Are you mad at all of us?
Yeah, I hate all of you. No,
Come at me, bro.
You're just lucky it didn't come to me in a tiebreaker, guys, because I'd have slammed it right back in Spider-Man. I'm just going to put two superficial things on there. They got the eye squinting to work. If you're a Spider-Man comic reader, and though they got it to work in Civil War, but it also works in here, it's the same suit. To get the eye squint that Spider-Man has is awesome, because I thought they would never do that. Amazing Spider-Man 2, though it's a horrible, horrible, horrible movie, it did have like one of the greatest suits, except for the eyes didn't move. And the eyes moving here, and that just made me geek out a lot. And another geek out thing I'll throw in here before you guys sweep Spider-Man under the rug for some reason. Iron Man's HUD is Jarvis, and Spider-Man's HUD is Karen. One's played by Paul Bettany, and the other plays by Paul Bettany's wife, Jennifer Connelly. Just put it out there. That's pretty freaking dope. You can sweep.
That's real good. Hey, when are we going to see the half Peter Parker face, half Spider face that we all don't want to see?
That's coming next movie.
Please, no. Please.
Guaranteed it's coming next movie.
So regardless of DJ's pleas, we're going to put Guardians Volume 1 into the Final Four. That means it has a chance of revenge. Guardians Volume 1 beat Avengers Age of Ultron. Avengers beat Guardians Volume 2, and now they face off against each other. It's Avengers versus Guardians Volume 1. Amanda, where do you go?
Oh, shenanigans.
Stop saying shenanigans. The next person that says shenanigans.
We have not needed a tiebreaker yet. Will this be the case? We got Avengers number 7 seed against Guardians number 3 seed. Amanda, what are you thinking? What's going on in that head of yours? What's swaying you one way or the other? One team versus another team. The Avengers team versus the Guardians team. I'm running out of things to stall here. What do you got?
I'm trying to figure out which team I have more favorites on. I think as far as
Thor is on the Avengers team.
I mean, those pecs, bro.
Pecs are all there. Packing it
Batista's
up.
got some pecs.
Batista's
But he's
never wearing a
bald.
shirt.
He doesn't have that hair and that smile.
Against blue pecs?
I might
I
be
think-
prejudiced against blue people.
Does that explain why she didn't like Shape of Water, guys?
See?
I mean, the creature looked cool. I just didn't.
Something
Don't
about
get
the
me-
blue people is a barrier to you, huh?
Yes,
I
she
did
doesn't
not
like
mind
Smurfs.
the character.
She doesn't-
Yeah, fuck those little
Completely,
creeps.
she's Gargamel. She's the female Gargamel.
Fuck
has
those
cats.
little creeps.
Well, but a blue person had one of your favorite lines.
I like him.
Y'all.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And when he died, like, it killed me.
Oh,
inside.
spoiler alert.
Who hasn't seen that? If you're listening to this and you haven't seen that, you are at the wrong place, my friend. Go back to your rock, because it ain't happening for you. No, man, and he was like, I probably have some daddy issues. And when he was all like, saying, I'm your daddy and all that, it really got to me. Like,
That was in Volume 2, though.
like, it got me, you know what I mean? So I do like that character. I don't have total prejudice against blue people. But I do think that the amount of badass and ass-kickery in Avengers has to beat out as amazing Guardians was.
Matt, is this a worthy Final Four matchup with the Guardians Volume 1 and Avengers? Are those two of the best Marvel Cinematic movies?
Yeah, I think they are.
And which
I
one do
think
you like
those
better?
are. Now that's a harder choice. I do think that the Avengers gets a lot of sway for being the Avengers, right? Being this multiple funneling into a single that's so good, and absolutely Loki is better than anything that the Guardians have faced. That's not even a comparison.
Hating on blue people again.
I mean, I love Nebula. Like, I'm a big fan
That's
of
true. Nebula's dope.
Karen Gillian. That's another action figure that I bought. And maybe the only Guardians branded action figure I have, actually. Although I'm kind of a bigger fan of their comic book versions than the movie versions of a lot of those characters, just visually. Anyway, that's not important. What's important is that I love both of these movies, and I have to fight them in my head for dominancy. This is the madness that comes every spring in the month of March, and I'm dealing with it. I think that maybe Avengers is more deserving, but I feel like personally I'm going to have to vote for Guardians.
Whoa!
One vote Avengers, one vote for Guardians. Guardians does have the only action figure I own of any comic book whatsoever with Yondu. But that's just because that line makes me laugh every time I think about it. I don't know why. It's like one of my favorite lines of all time. But Dan, let's just go to you first. What do you think?
So this is not what I expected, but the more I'm thinking about it, Avengers has one of the best, most fun final acts ever, but you have to consider the fact the first 30 minutes of that or sometimes a slog to get through, especially on rewatch. It's not as enjoyable. It takes a little bit to really find its footing. Once you're on the helicarrier, it starts working, but it takes a little bit to get there. Where I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy throughout, I'm entertained. I think it starts off with the amazing and fun dance sequence. It just right away it announces its presence of this is going to be a different type of experience to other Marvel films, and just the little pieces they put onto it. So I'm going to go Guardians. I think. Yeah, I know it's craziness, but also maybe make it a little more fun of a Final Four. Put DJ in the hot seat. but we'll see.
Interesting here. Amanda, the big Guardians lover, is the only one so far that has voted against Guardians and gone with Avengers.
Traitor!
I just want to be Black Widow. That's it. I just want to be her. Okay.
He doesn't want to spell it.
Another interesting thing that we could have done is actually pit, I guess, the characters against each other, and which ones had the best films. If the Guardians have the best films, Iron Man, Captain America, etc. Obviously, we had a lot of Captain America love last time, but a discussion for another time. I'm stalling here because it's Guardians versus Avengers here, and I guess I have to vote. I am a huge fan of both the Thor and the Guardian films because I love the sci-fi element and kind of that more otherworldly fantasy element that we get from both of those franchises, but. Man, this is like a sign of the times because we have 3 movies left in this whole bracket, and they're all more of a team-up thing where, Avengers has that team, we have the Guardians team, and then we have another team waiting for us on the other side of the bracket. A very similar team, but still. Apparently we all like the group action there. But, man, I agree with Dan. Guardians is a more of a entertaining film from start to finish, but Avengers was so mind-blowing at the time. It has a better villain, in my opinion. Probably better action moments. I don't know. DJ, who has the better action sequences out of Avengers and Guardians?
Between the Avengers and Guardians, it's Avengers. Easily.
That's what I'm thinking too. So it has it's more of the epic action sequence.
The best action sequence in probably Guardians is the jailbreak. But that's about as all you're going to get, really. Shot-wise, I'm saying.
This is weird because Amanda and I are like 2 huge Guardians fans, and I feel like we're going to be the 2 that vote for Avengers. I'll vote for Avengers and let DJ for once today.
For once.
Just for today's episode.
Wretched life.
You matter, DJ. You matter.
I need something. Guys, come on. What are we doing here? All right, look. Star-Lord's helmet was my avatar on Twitter for about 4 years until, this guy named T'Challa came around. But and that scene with Drunk Rocket, it gets me every time. I don't know what it is about that scene where he's just pissed off and drunk and he's going to pull a gun on them because they're making fun of him. Every time I watch it, it does something to me. I don't know why. And maybe it's the way Bradley Cooper does it. I don't know what's going on there. Guardians shouldn't work, and it does. It made me like Dave Bautista as an actor. Think about what I just said in English there. But again, I was sitting in a theater, I repeat, with my sister who does not like movies in general, unless Rihanna's in them. And she turns to me when they do that one shot where Thor and Hulk are on a freaking Chitauri space whale, and Iron Man shoots Captain America's shield and it blows off a bunch of Chitauri, and Hawkeye's shooting that guy down, and she turns to me and whispers in this really hipster, emo way, "This is so cool." There's no way. There's no way I got that from Guardians. He was like, "Oh, that was fun." Avengers changed, like, she only watches Marvel movies now. That's it. She does it because of Avengers, because of that moment where we have the Hulk say, Bruce Banner explaining how he has control over the Hulk. "I'm always angry." Stuff like that? Nah. It's just too big of a movie, and Avengers has to win.
All right, so DJ casting the deciding tie-breaking vote for the Avengers, which maybe gives us the most interesting finale. I don't know, or maybe a boring finale for some. I don't know. We're Avengers and Avengers under a different name. So Captain America: Civil War versus Marvel's The Avengers. Just going by the tail of the tape here, Marvel's The Avengers had a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes. Civil War had a 91.
Wow.
Marvel Avengers Metacritic 69, Civil War 75. So slight edge to Civil War on Metacritic, but none of those guys matter because all that matters is the 5 of us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Dan, how do we try to break this down? Captain America: Civil War, aka Avengers 3 versus Avengers 1.
This is tough because, like I said, Avengers is one of the greatest movie experiences I've ever had, and but I think ultimately I think Civil War is a better, more complete film, and in the sense of it has a lot of those great action moments. I think probably Avengers has better actions. That massive finale within New York is insane, but the finale of Civil War, it's much more subdued and intimate because that's exactly what that fight needed to be. And I think what the Civil War movie did is actually improve upon the story it was based on in a lot of ways, and had a much more satisfying ending to it. And like just the conflict that's there are some great moments. And although it is, in Avengers, basically an Avengers film, it does still ultimately feel like Captain America's movie, and like probably the most growth we've seen with all those movies, with Captain America and Iron Man and their relationship towards one another. Again, another one with a lot of great lines. It doesn't maybe have the entertaining experience in the sense of Avengers, because Avengers has a lot of those like puny god moments and things like that like make you stand up and cheer and laugh. Civil War is a much different approach. It doesn't really have much comedy whatsoever, which makes it unique, I think, within the world of Marvel films. So because of that, I'll go Civil War.
It does have those moments, though, where Spider-Man shows up, Black Panther shows up, Ant-Man shows up, that are some kind of like cheer-worthy moments, I guess, if you're seeing it in like a packed theater. All right.
Yeah, just not like ones that like you're gonna like roll over your chair laughing like you get where they Hulk punching Thor, and right. It's much more of a serious tone, but I think it needed to be in order to be based upon the story it was telling.
All right, so your vote is for Captain America: Civil War. Matt, did we end up with the right two films in the finale with Civil War and Avengers outlasting the likes of Black Panther, the Guardians films, all the Iron Mans? Is this the right two?
Yeah, I have zero qualms or complaints. We had some bumps along the way, but we got to the correct destination, I feel.
And now that we're at that destination, which movie ticket are you punching your pass to?
So I've said it, I think, on both records a number of times. What the Avengers did was unprecedented. It brought all these movies together, all these characters that nobody cared about 10 years before, and now it's one of the biggest movies of all time. It was amazing, it was insane, and the performances were great. And then the Avengers 2 happened, and everyone's like, hey, what happened? And then Civil War happened, and it captured that magic again. They did it again, and this time they did it right, unlike the second time, but they brought in new characters, so it still had those moments that the first one had, only now they've learned things. And though it's hey, I've seen two Avengers movies before, but somehow this still feels fresh and new. And we always talk about Loki being the villain of Avengers 1, but when you're doing that big set piece action scene at the end, it's these faceless aliens that we know next to nothing about. Whereas at the end of Civil War, it's all of those characters we've cared about that we didn't used to, that we've now established through a dozen or more films, and we're all picking sides, and we're seeing Captain America and Iron Man getting into just a knockdown slobber knocker fist brawl.
Oh, what?
A slobber knocker!
I forgot she's not a teenage boy from the 90s, like the rest of us. I have to give it to Civil War because it just improved on everything that the first one did.
Amanda, you voted for Avengers to beat both of your Guardian films. Now it's facing off against Captain America: Civil War, who happens to have Bucky.
Who is he?
You finally got back to Bucky. So what's the situation here?
I've been sitting here coloring in my coloring book, going, Bucky, though. And just,
you might like Bucky more than Chris Hemsworth.
I feel like Bucky kicks more brutal ass. I mean, Thor's out there he makes it look easy, swinging his hammer around and electrocuting people and whatever. Bucky, legit has skills and was brainwashed, went through some shit to be a badass. I believe he's a badass. He wasn't just born with a silver hammer in his mouth or whatever.
Hammer in his mouth.
He had to go through some awful shit, and he's been frozen. He's got a metal fucking arm. He has some crazy brainwash stuff where he hears some crazy words in Russian and then he goes off the rails. He is a badass, and some of the scenes that he's in, my face must look outrageous because of my oh my god face. He does some awesome stuff, and I didn't really like I didn't like some of the matchup, like how hardcore the battle was between them. I liked in the past where we saw like Thor versus Iron Man, like some of that was pretty cool. But I just felt bad seeing like Cap and Iron Man go at it so hard, and it depressed the crap out of me. So I don't know if I can like it more than the Avengers, which was like such a pump up movie, like you were just like juiced. But I don't know, I think Civil War has to be the one that I gravitate towards more.
Voted for Avengers over both Guardians. I'm just kidding. You can vote for Civil War.
Why are we... God, get off my shit.
Just throwing you under the bus.
Look at him over here.
I think you voted for Civil War to beat a bunch of stuff too, though, so that's all right. DJ, I want to get your thoughts before I say anything, but what do you think? Does Avengers deserve more love than we're giving it?
Think about these two movies.
We both said they're both great movies. Let's not say anybody's hating on anything.
To compare it to Shakespeare, and no... hipster. I'm not saying they're as good as Shakespeare. I'm just saying to compare it to Shakespeare. Avengers is like Midsummer Night's Dream, and Civil War is kind of like Hamlet. One's a tragedy, and one's very like uplifting, and you're happy. There's stuff in Civil War that has so much weight to it with the guys of the Avengers there, and there's some good downy stuff in there. And there's stuff in people were debating when the movie was coming out, are you Team Cap or Team Iron Man? I'm so Team Iron Man because of the end when his actions are irrational but make complete sense to me because of that tape. And everybody out there goes, oh, Marvel movies don't have any brutalness. It's just good Mickey Mouse. There's a scene where Winter Soldier chokes a woman to death after punching a man to death with his hands. His best friend, by the way.
He kills her with his, like, non-metal hand. He makes it personal.
This is in the so everybody's talking about, oh, it's not a brutal, and it's brutal. Howard Stark dies brutally on camera. So yeah, that scene where he goes, do you remember them? I remember every last one of them, and he's my friend. I don't care. That stuff is so good, and it made me just go during that fight where I'm just like, oh man, where you kind of feel for both of them. You know why Cap is there. You know why Tony's there. You know why Cap can't let Tony kill him. It's just so much stuff going on. Avengers is fun, and you have fun. You have the mustache twirling villain in Loki, who is great, but the weight of the end of Civil War, and that ending comes after maybe the greatest action scene in a comic book movie of all time, and that scene you almost forget about when you have, and on the precipice you have Black Panther dealing with Zemo on the top of the mountain. It's so much good stuff going on in Civil War. And I'm looking at my list here, my Marvel list. Civil War is 1, and Avengers is 2, so I'm going Civil War.
Dan, did we make it so that your list holds up too as to what you had number 1 overall?
No, Winter Soldier didn't make it, so you're all dead to me.
But Bucky made it.
Bucky's still there. Don't worry, Bucky's still there.
I just
the Winter Soldier is there, so I guess I get a condolence prize. So yeah.
There we go. Matt, what do you think? Are we getting it right with Captain America: Civil War as number 1 overall?
Yeah, like, and honestly, we could do this one at the end of the year with the next 2 movies were coming out, and I think that we might still have the same outcome because, like, that is such a great movie, and it's going to be so hard to top that.
Absolutely, and I like what happened here because I didn't have to pick between Civil War and Avengers, so I can abstain.
You copped.
Thanos has a lot to live up to. I mean, and it's been years, not only the years, but we have some movies with, I mean, though, again, they say they don't have good villains, but he has to come strong over Killmonger, over Loki, over just the fact that Cap and Iron Man are kind of villains in their own movie, kind of stuff. Thanos has to come strong in Infinity War.
Dan, is Infinity War, is that going to be even a harder hype bill to live up to? I mean, is there more pressure on Infinity War than there was the original Avengers?
Man, it's hard to say yes, but partially I think it is because the big piece of that is Thanos, and it does feel like this is a movie they've been somehow building up towards this entire time. So I think so in a way, because I think there's more eyes on Marvel more so than ever before. We know they can do it. We know they can make good Avengers movies. So if they don't, then it's certainly disappointing. And yeah, so I would say certainly the pressure's on, in the sense of, it's got a lot to live up to too. I mean, it's got, I think Marvel in a lot of ways has been able to evolve and change and have a lot of great films throughout this. And I think their second phase and third phase are some of their best. They've gotten better in a lot of ways. So if it's just as good as Avengers, is that disappointing? Which is a weird thing to say. So I don't know. I think it does have more pressure on it.
Matt, do you think there's more at risk here? Because, you've had 18 films plus by the time you get there, and you've had a lot of stuff leading up to this one specific villain. Some people are complaining maybe of superhero fatigue or the different stuff you hear, blah, blah, blah. Is there more at risk if this one doesn't live up to the hype compared to what we've had before?
No. Here's the thing. They're not going to release a movie so bad it'll kill the MCU. And people talk about superhero fatigue, and then those same people will watch 12 seasons of Friends. So
or 9 chick flicks, or 100 freaking war movies, or 33 horror films.
Yeah, how many times have we've seen every battle in World War II twice already?
There's 3 Dunkirk movies last year. 3.
It's like saying someone has action movie fatigue.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they got all this good comedy fun movie, and they're getting tired of it.
I'm so tired of these Nicholas Sparks movies and these Richard Curtis movies. I'm so tired. Nobody ever says that. Ever.
Now, it's all BuzzFeed just trying to get clicks. Superhero movies are reigning, and maybe the market will shift away from it, because it always does eventually shift. But, for now, I don't see it going anywhere. A bad one like Avengers 2, Iron Man 2, those didn't kill it, and those were massive drop-offs from their first ones. I don't see Infinity War being that. I think it's going to be fine. Is it going to live up to everyone's expectations of the original Infinity Gauntlet story? Probably not. It's just that movie, that story's 35 years old now.
You can't do what they did in that book in a movie. People would lose their shit.
It's so impossible. I tried explaining it to a coworker the other day.
The biggest thing in that comic book. Spoiler alert for that comic book, 35-year-old comic book. And the biggest critique of Marvel, where nobody dies. In the end of the Infinity Gauntlet book, everyone dies, and then all of a sudden, everyone's back. If they did that in a movie, people would go crazy on Marvel. You can't even keep everybody dead. They would never do that. So I don't think we're going to get anything close to what they did in that comic book. No way.
No. But, it'll probably be good. I'll probably see – I'll definitely see it. I'll make sure that happens. And it'll probably make $1 billion worldwide minimum. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine, Avengers.
All right. So, Amanda, any thoughts on Infinity War? Are you excited?
Thanos looks okay.
He's no Bucky.
He's definitely no motherfucking Bucky.
He has a metal hand, though. Well, that was a glove, but whatever.
He's got a funky purple face. And
is it true thing?
He's pretty big, so he's probably scary. And we've been supposed to be scared of him for years now, and we're finally going to get to see why. And I just don't want to see anybody that I like friggin' die. It's going to upset me.
You're coming to the wrong movie.
Yeah. And I know what's going to happen, and it's probably going to be fucking Bucky, and then we'll be pissed.
How about this, though? How about we take the team that we were debating about with the Avengers and then combine it with that team that we were talking about in the Guardians and put them together in a movie?
That's happening.
Yes. Mine. All right. That's what I'm excited for. See how
that's actually what is going to
Wait, what? Did you just have an idea?
All All right, so you guys are going to have to let us know if you liked this March Madness session, if you'd like to see more stuff like this in the future, or I guess next year in March. Let us know that. If you want to get into contact with us on Twitter, one of you guys did last week after the episode, so we appreciate that. The show Twitter handle there is at Cinema Geekcast.
We have a listener!
At least one. They responded on Twitter. That means they had to have listened.
Plus, we always, my shout is always going to Freddie Savage, my favorite listener.
For sure, Ben Savage's brother.
Somebody send a motherfucker some cookies.
Who, by the way... All right, Amanda, how do people get in touch with you?
Okay, at Twitter, on Twitters?
At Twitter.
At the Twitters.
Is that your handle, at Twitter? That'd be amazing.
Find me at the Twitters.
She owns Twitter.
Yes.
I'm at Twitter.
So much of the monies. You can find me at HardCandiMandi, eyes, no lies.
Dan, how can people get in contact with you on Twitter, and how can they listen to other content from you?
I'm at MovieRevolt on Twitter. You can check out all my stuff at Geekcast Radio, the Comics Concierge podcast, different articles. I'll also use some. I'll be doing a series of the best comics of each month, and also trying to do some more catching up with the classics, where I take a look at some classic comics I have not read previously and give my opinions on them as I read them for the first time. We're currently trying to read them, which has been the hard part of finding time, but those should be out shortly as well. And that's all at geekcastradio.com.
Awesome. Matt, how can people get into contact with you?
Ooh, I'm at FridleyCent.
All right, I'm at OptimusSolo. DJ, tell everybody about you, your show, and how people can get in touch with you.
I'm DJ. I was born a poor black child. No, I'm at Twitter at trying to be DJV. I am one of the co-hosts of the Simplistic Reviews podcast, which is kind of like this show if you add a lot of drinking and a lot of insanity. And you can find us at Simple Tweeters on Twitter, and you can just find our show on iTunes and YouTube and TuneIn and Stitcher. Just search Simplistic Reviews.
You should definitely check out their show. They put a lot of hard work into it. They far surpass us.
We're lazy. What are you talking about?
The production value is amazing, and the stuff you guys put together is phenomenal. So definitely check that stuff out.
And if whoever was complaining about me cussing on these shows, don't listen to DJ's show then. Way worse.
Listen, if you have a problem with a man cussing, trust me. So let's reviews times that by a million.
Not the place for you.
I'll also throw in that one of your co-hosts, Matt, was on the most recent episode of the Comics Concierge podcast. We talked about Howard County. So if you want to hear that, you can get that at geekcastradio.com as well.
We are a little concerned, though. Was this a undercover plot, DJ, that you guys were trying to take over Geekcast Radio for?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'll also be on the Comic Book Concierge soon. I'm not taking over your show. Shh, we're taking over.
This is revenge for me being on the Simple Reviews for episode. Amanda?
I think DJ is like petting a cat with his middle arm right now.
I am.
That's right. I'm gonna rally the troops, and I'm gonna try to talk Dan, Amanda, and Matt to get in on your show, so we can have our own little takeover. So
you guys can come on anytime. Just make sure you bring the alcohol.
I get all the cussings. Yay!
All the cussing, all the swear words.
Actually, DJ, we might need to arrange something to have Amanda on your show every once in a while, just to get it all out of her system. So
I've been trying real hard.
We are a sounding board for all made-up curse words, actual curse words, anything you want to make some stuff up. We are your haven.
Also, check out all the other stuff from geekcastradio.com. The best way to do that is follow them on Facebook. Search out Geekcast Radio. We just had our 4th annual Geekcast Radio Awards that'll be live by the time this airs, so go back and check out to see who the winners were for that. And keep up to date, because we got a lot of fun stuff coming your way. That does it for this week, though. Tune in next week for another chance to listen to the Cinema Geeks.